We're live. Ready?
We'd like to call the meeting to order. Sorry. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. Due to my voice, Clerk Rowe, are you going to run me?
Yeah. All right. First item on the agenda is public comments. This is a chance for you to speak. Go to the microphone. Make sure you give your name and address. The person that does the minutes is not here. You also can speak under any agenda item.
Go ahead. My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street. I am glad that Debbie Dingle is going to look into the post office. I wish that somebody would contact the Postmaster General of the United States to get things solved. This is not just a short-term thing. It's almost 2 years that we've had problems. There's no excuse for that. I don't know if they need new management or whatever they need. And then to address the situation of waste management, I'm happy with waste management. I know you're going to put out bids, but also please look into the quality of the other waste management people, because I've heard some, gossip about how some of the other providers are not as good as waste management. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. The first order of business is the consent agenda, the minutes of the January 21st, 2020 work session and regular meeting, the statements and checks for March 3rd in the amount of $895,769.03.
Move to approve.
Support.
There's a motion by Joe, supported by Wilson, to approve try to write and talk at the same time, to approve the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Next is old business. We'll need a motion. Oops, sorry, attorney's report. Attorney Winters. Sorry.
Okay. This evening, I'm just going to talk about two important topics, because the rest of the items I've actually spent a lot of time sending out letters, so you probably have those already. And if you have any questions, well, I'll talk about that too. But the first one is the ongoing challenge the township faces for the cleanup at 923 Ecorse Road, Forbes Cleaners, and then some of the residential properties that were negatively impacted by the leaching of that perk from the Forbes Cleaners into the neighborhood. But just backing up for a moment, in one of my letters, I did mention that I still shudder at the prospect of what it would have done to this township if that property had been quit claimed or by Catherine McCleary, Treasurer Catherine McCleary, to the township, knowing at that time the extent of the contamination and her ongoing refusal to remove that property from the sale, knowing that that property was contaminated. The township has been very fortunate to have worked with the DEQ, it's now referred to as being AGLE, to step in and purchase that property. And to give you some type of idea as to what has already gone into this cleanup, which is far from being finalized, they spent over $750,000 already on the Forbes Cleaners site back when they first acquired the property through the Michigan Land Bank. And then this past few weeks, you may have seen the emails where they were successful in actually obtaining an additional $2 million in renewed Michigan bonds from the state legislature. And again, thanks to State Rep. Ronnie Peterson for looking out for our interests in this regard, because that $2 million is still not enough to clean up this property. It's going to go a long ways to install vapor mitigation systems in at least 4 of the properties on Davis Street. And it's also going to require 2 garages to be demolished during this process of the cleanup, which will be rebuilt, but nevertheless, there are still going to be some significant disruptions during the next few months. It's also going to require the contractor to actually remove, I believe, an abandoned sanitary sewer line, which was, they think, the primary source of how the contamination was transmitted from Forbes Cleaners into the neighborhood. And it's also going to require the soil itself to be dug up and removed. I mention that not because, and again, you try and stay within your lane of expertise, and you're getting into areas where it involves the scientists and people at AGLE, but all of us have been trying to keep abreast because there is an impact upon this area of the township. And this area of the township has also been one, an E-course road, in which there's been a lot of focus by the township's outside planning consultants and administrative staff is what can we do to restart and see more of a renaissance on E-course Road and on Michigan Avenue. We're seeing a lot of development take place on the south side, and that's very, very good. In fact, Greg and his team are here tonight to talk about Lombardo. But at the same time, the north side continues to be on our radar screen because they were for many, many years the backbone of the township in terms of carrying the heavy load from the taxpayer standpoint. And we're doing everything that we can to stay on top of this. But again, I'm just pointing out that this will probably already be close to $3 million that's been expended for this cleanup, and we haven't yet even really got into the cleanup of the Forbes site itself. I mean, the final stages, which may require another several $1 million. So, again, at the end of the day, I do believe that the final chapter should include a meeting with our county commissioners, our county commissioner-elects, and other people, because never again should any community in this county in which there's a property known to have contamination, in which property owners have walked away from, should ever be put in a position where if we had not actually, I know Karen went over there, Brenda and myself went over there, Larry went over there, and we had to actually fight, and even then, it was not one that the treasurer was willing to remove this property from a foreclosure sale. In other words, this property would have been foreclosed upon, and then ultimately, if nobody had purchased it, it would have been quit claim to the township, and we might not have caught it at the time that we did. We're just very, very fortunate that we caught it in time to weigh in when it really mattered, and even more fortunate to have the relationships that we had cultivated over the years with DEQ, and they stepped in and they've done the right thing. At the same time, even they did not expect that they were going to be spending millions of dollars to clean up this property, and much less the residential properties on Davis Street. So I'm just mentioning that to you right now because I'm not happy or satisfied that, eventually things will get cleaned up, but there's got to be some kind of a takeaway as to what occurred here, so it never again can come down to where the township might miss finding out about this property being contaminated or not having people that might have known from experience what to expect if someone does a phase 1 and then decides not to do a phase 2 in spite of the recommendations being made by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, which is what happened in this case. And so I just encourage all the board members, especially the ones that will be here in the future, to continue to always keep in mind that this is a type of a situation that could have had just a catastrophic impact upon the township's rainy day fund. It would have absolutely tore it apart if the township had to be out of pocket $3 million or better to clean up this property. So that's one issue that I still want you to keep in mind. The vapor mitigation systems I know have been installed in at least 2 properties. I've asked for an update about the 3rd and 4th one, and I think our building department have asked the information to be provided to us so we can include that in the property files at the township, because all property owners, both present and future, should be aware down the road exactly what the impact and effect and the cleanup, so we can ensure that those properties are healthy and that they remain that way. At the same time, I also wanted to take a moment to talk about an issue that has probably consumed a great deal of my time, and as well as your time in reading the letters during the last 6 weeks, and that is the efforts by Lilly Investments Incorporated, which is owns the property at 3011 East Michigan Avenue in the state of Michigan, through the DOC and the Department of Management Technology Bureau, to try and locate a parole office at 3011 East Michigan Avenue, which is a B3 zoning district and which is absolutely prohibited by the township's zoning ordinance. Again, I think maybe the very first week that Jason was here in his capacity as a planning director, and this also maybe shows the wisdom of the township board in hiring someone who has experience in planning. Jason gets a phone call from the attorney for Lilly saying he wants to meet to discuss what's needed to get the property renovated for a parole office. So when Jason kept asking questions, the answers he was getting were not satisfactory, and when he finally determined that it was in fact a violation of our ordinance, he contacted me, and from there we've been engaged in a number of serious conversations with the State Representative Ronnie Peterson, Consultant Kurt Profit, as well as our elected officials here in Washtenaw County, because this parole office is one that is currently located, is located at the Huron Valley Women's Prison. And for 3 years, unbeknownst to myself until we started getting into this, for 3 years the county, Washtenaw County, was negotiating with the state in good faith to have this parole office located in the county courthouse, which quite frankly is probably the most secured public building in Washtenaw County. And I say that because they already have, you have to go through security, you have to go through the metal detectors. They have probably more deputies over there in that building than any other building I can think of in the whole county. And quite frankly, that's the place that is the county seat. If you want to be a county seat, then there's certain amenities that go with that. There's also certain responsibilities. And the county seat is accessible to everyone in this county that's on parole. And people that are on parole should have a place where they can have a bus line that will take them to a place where they can check in until they are discharged. And that was the ideal place. We have been told different stories as to why those negotiations broke down. But what we weren't ever told is that there were negotiations that broke down until after the fact we discover that this lease has been entered into between the state of Michigan, DOC, and Lilly Investments. For whatever reason, they didn't bother to review the township zoning map or the township zoning ordinance or do a zoning verification letter, because if they had, they would have discovered that a parole office is not allowed in a B3 district. The township zoning ordinance does allow for a parole office to be located in what we call the IC, or the Industrial Commercial District. It does not allow that. In fact, the state lease that I sent a copy to all of you specifically contains a provision in Article 11 that says this lease can be canceled if this location or if the use of the property is in violation of a local adopted ordinance. Or the township zoning ordinance is just that. It's a local adopted ordinance. And at this point in time, I have written to the DOC and the Department of Management and Budget. They signed off on it. The Lilly Investments signed off on it. The Attorney General's office signed off on it. The only person that wasn't part of those discussions was Ypsilanti Township. Now, again, the township is very supportive of trying to do everything it possibly can to reduce the recidivism of people who come out of prison. We all believe in second chances. I've seen it firsthand over the years. Many people come out that I think are almost set up for failure because the system many times is stacked against people who are trying to get a job, get housing, get transportation. And in fact, I think Ypsilanti Township may have been one of the first communities when Cameron and Larry were involved in supporting the county's initiative to ban the box. So they did not have to always disclose it, because right now, even if you're on parole, you can't even work in a restaurant that serves alcohol, because that in of itself is a violation of the terms of parole. So the point is, right now, we're not against trying to make sure that people have a proper place to go to for parole. They just can't go into an area of the township where it's not zoned for that purpose, but we have other areas that are zoned for that purpose. And we're basically in the process of trying to develop a master plan tonight that's going to also reinvigorate East Michigan Avenue. I did review the records that were provided by the county back when they were negotiating this issue with the state, and the state director said that of the 50 parolees that come through your county building each day, you can expect 5 to 7 people to probably be arrested for violation of the parole. Well, this proposed location is out there towards the end of East Michigan Avenue. It's going to involve extra oversight by the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department if there are going to be that type of activity on a daily basis. And the county, this is a regional need, and it has to be resolved. The county building is the most sensible location for this to go. So I wanted to take a moment right now, because we've also been told that this location is also really chosen because the real reason that the DOC wants to go there is to also serve the population of western Wayne County, because it's about as far east as you can go in Ypsilanti Township before you go into Wayne County. And so, again, you sometimes wonder when is something going to slip through, and sometimes you wonder because you have a lot of sleepless nights. I do at times, wondering, did I miss something today? Is something else going to happen? Is another shoe going to drop that we can't catch? And sometimes, we've always said this, we don't have a very, very deep bench, but we have a lot of people that are very, very dedicated. Mike spent a lot of time also gathering documents together to show and confirm the zoning does not allow this location to be there. And I think Greg can attest to as well that while we don't have a deep bench, he's also accustomed to receiving letters on the weekends and Saturdays and Sundays, because we try our best to make sure that we don't miss anything, and that we also cover a lot of territory. But sometimes we just need extra help. And this time we need help from the state and our consultants and Ronnie to weigh in very heavily, because this is not the location for this parole office to go to. And I've done everything I can. We return their building permit application. We return their check to them. We ask the state to cancel the lease. And the bottom line is that if they don't do it, then we will do what we have to do, because the integrity of our zoning ordinance does matter. And they know, to me, it's almost, I think of this in the context again because Greg is sitting here tonight, but it's hard for me to imagine any developer or any person who wants to locate a business or build in any community not to do a zoning verification letter. How do you not do something like that? If you do a zoning, we actually have a form on the website. It's entitled Zoning Verification Letter. And so if you fill that form out and say, I want to come here to the township and do this, is this allowed? Then it's a very simple process for us to say thumbs up, you can, thumbs down, you can't, or you can, subject to special conditions. But at least you've done your due diligence. You don't just, in the middle of the night, execute a lease without doing your due diligence and then knock on the door and say, we're ready to renovate the building for a use not allowed by the township. And so it does take a lot of time for everybody, and not just myself. It takes a lot of time out of staff, township officials, to have meetings like this. But I just wanted to at least take a moment to discuss this publicly, because the letters have gone out. I know some of the trustees, Stan in particular, wanted to discuss this issue before now, but it was a little bit earlier until we actually had all the facts. And now we have all the facts that I believe are relevant to this discussion. And so now it must be canceled. There's no other way of saying that. The lease must be canceled, and the county and the state need to restart negotiations to have that office located in the most secure public building in the county, where the judges sit that sentence those persons to prison to begin with. So if there is an issue, that's the place where that grievance can be heard in that setting. And so that's the status update on that. And if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. But as of this evening, I've not received a response yet from the DOC as to whether they're going to honor our request to cancel the lease, but we're not going to allow permits to be issued to go into a building where we know that use is not allowed. We spent a lot of time trying to enforce our zoning ordinance, apply it uniformly, even-handedly, with justice and even compassion. But we can't just turn away and just say, okay, you can do this because you're the state, or because somebody believes that the township, in this location, this area, what does it matter? Well, it matters to us. We have a zoning ordinance, and we're going to enforce it. We spent a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money enforcing our zoning ordinances. And Michigan Avenue, Ecorse Road, Washington Avenue, and many other ones are definitely. We have residential neighborhoods that are on the tipping point. We also have areas that we need to make sure we're doing our due diligence and remain vigilant to protect the commercial tax base in our township.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Winters. Next is,
Can I just say that County Commissioner Ricky Jefferson was also very involved with assisting.
Ricky's been very involved from the very beginning.
And Greg Dill attended a meeting, and I actually talked to him, and they're going to set up a meeting with the state in order to restart the negotiations on that. So, but I'm very thankful to the team. Jason, this is your first response. He just got a cold call, and he handled it so professionally and so in-depth, and we really, really appreciate that. And of course, Doug, your research on it, and our lobbyists attended, our state rep attended. It was a good effort to try to get the state to understand that they need to verify the zoning before they locate a facility there. So I greatly appreciate the teamwork on it.
all right, anything else? All right, we have old business. Number one is Resolution 2020-01, the adoption of updated master plan. It was tabled, so we'll need a motion to remove from table.
Motion to remove?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. You now have before you Resolution 1, Resolution 2021, adoption of updated master plan.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, Township Trustees, Jason Icoangeli, Planning Director. At our last meeting, we had went through sort of a small workshop presentation to kind of go through the Township Master Plan to give you a brief overview or a summary of it. The outcome of that was there was some questions and concerns about the focus being put on multiple family in these neighborhood transition districts, specifically the area of Galt Village. Since that last meeting, you probably saw from my memo, we've addressed the language that deals with neighborhood transition districts to take away the emphasis that was put on multiple family. It's still a part of that district because it functions as a transition in certain areas, particularly along places like Michigan Avenue and Washtenaw Avenue. Some of those other areas that are on the future land use map that are highlighted in blue. So it's still in there, but we took away like some of the key things like the word primarily, multiple family. And then we also moved multiple family to be sort of last on the list and not first on the list. One of the other changes that we've made since the last time we met, we actually took Galt Village, the shopping area, not the neighborhood, out of the neighborhood transition district and placed it with all of its other neighbors in what we call the neighborhood preservation future land use category. Neighborhood preservation is primarily single-family development. It does allow for infill development. Some of the uses that it allows are single-family, public facilities such as schools, houses of worship. Some of the other uses to include like attached single-family housing, and then at the very end of that, there's some multiple family. However, the multiple family there, the need is to be either near a regional corridor or by other transition areas, which this is not, the Galt Village parcel. So we feel in our office we've done a pretty good job to listen to the concerns, kind of take the emphasis out of the multiple family land use in the neighborhood transition districts, and then also to remove the Galt Village area from neighborhood transition and place it again with its the rest of the neighborhood in what is called neighborhood preservation. I can read through just briefly the list of the uses again in neighborhood preservation if you have interest, but again, they're primarily single-family residential, public and institutional facilities such as schools, police stations, community centers, places of worship, public parks, and then residential, attached residential and multifamily only in those neighborhoods that have edges adjacent to neighborhood transition districts and mixed-use development. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about those changes.
The questions? I know I had one, and that is...
Please.
Yeah, I know that what we're trying to do, and I fully support this. I know that's what the residents want, but at the same time, I want to make sure that, like, if we had an attached condominium group that wanted to come in with shopping and, and we thought it was a wonderful plan, was that still going to be able to happen there?
Yeah,
It's multiple?
I think so. It's likely that a development like this, because it's such a key development in the community, it's called out as a special area in the master plan. It's likely that when that redevelops, it will redevelop as a planned development.
One big...
Yes, because it'll be a mix of different uses, and in order to allow that type of mix of uses, a planned development would be the way that particular development would be developed.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have just a couple. The regional area, when you and I talked, because it has to be able to allow, the road system has to be a of course, be able to allow the multiple.
Right.
So a lot of the transitional were on major roads, which is appropriate, as you just said. Galt Village didn't have that major road that it fronted on. And
That's right.
so it was a lot different. I do appreciate not having the emphasis on it. You guys are confident that multiple should stay in there. Usually when people see multiple, they're going to go for multiple, but in the plan, do we refer to the 2015 affordability plan? Is that incorporated? I couldn't find it in there, but I didn't know if we referenced it at all, just to make sure we're aware of that plan and what kind of future development.
Yeah, that would probably be a question better answered by Mr. Carlisle, because although I didn't write this plan, I had a pretty good hand in it as being on the steering committee, but I'm not certain of that, and I don't mean to put him on the spot, but maybe he has an answer to that question that I don't readily have.
Good evening. As the director alluded, my name is Ben Carlisle, Carlisle Warden Associates. We assisted the township with the drafting of this plan. Supervisor Stumbo, to your direct question about multifamily in Galt Village, I assume that's kind of where you're asking your question. The plan calls for neighborhood preservation for Galt Village, which would, again, as the director alluded to, would probably be done through some sort of plan development that would ultimately come up for the township board for approval. We do talk about multifamily in neighborhood preservation areas because there is already some multifamily already within some of the areas that we've identified for neighborhood preservation. But when we talk about multifamily in those areas, we're really talking about ensuring that if there is future multiple family in those areas, it's at the edges, it's adjacent to corridors that we speak, major corridors that we talk about, adjacent to other like uses, et cetera. So there is the language in there to provide for an appropriate transition and buffer. If there were to be proposed for multifamily on Galt Village, and maybe in the future there may be a desire for that. But there's plenty of, I would say, not say ammunition, but there's plenty of direction in the plan that would allow the board to put conditions to make sure there's an appropriate transition between those single-family neighborhoods and then whatever comes into Galt Village in the future.
Right. In general, Michigan Avenue, Washtenaw, the regional, Huron Street is a regional transportation area.
Right. And those are the areas where you want to plan for intensity, density, larger impactful uses such as multifamily. And that's where we're really focusing our area for those types of uses. So as you alluded to, multifamily should go on those major corridors in those areas that already have the infrastructure in place, have like uses in place, and it would be compatible with the existing development in those areas.
Yeah. But my only question back then is that if it's listed in there as a use in those districts, that means they can apply for it.
Well,
It has to be compatible to the area, though.
compatible to the area, correct.
And we'll do a traffic impact study and make
Traffic
sure the
impact
roads
study.
can.
Correct. But the plan, when it talks about multifamily, especially in the neighborhood preservation area, it talks about multifamily on the edges of any neighborhood preservation area adjacent to like uses. So there is some buffering, so you wouldn't put a multifamily, it would not support a multifamily in the middle of a neighborhood that doesn't have multifamily already there. That would not be consistent with how the plan is drafted.
Which is Galt Village didn't, that's why.
And that's why based on your concerns, we changed it, so the future land use plan shows Galt Village as neighborhood preservation. We strengthened the language in neighborhood preservation to address the concerns valid concerns that you had raised. And so we feel very comfortable that it does allow plenty of direction for both the staff, applicants, and a bunch of the township board when you actually have to make a decision on a land use change in the future.
And flexibility.
And flexibility
which is
based
what
on the
we were
market.
going for.
Yep.
Yeah. The other question was regarding the 2015 affordability report. I didn't know if that was referred to.
We didn't refer to it directly.
Okay, good. Or you did or didn't?
We did not refer to it directly. It's something certainly that we can insert a note about it into probably the neighborhood preservation area. We could put some reference to it as well. But no, we did not. We kind of a lot of our comments were based upon that, but we didn't specifically cite that section. We can certainly do that. That's the direction of the board.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions right now?
Madam Chair, I'll just add that, like, I mean, I know what you're, like, getting at with using the specifics, but they do have the, like, the couple graphs in there about household income and whatnot, so.
Related to the study, right? to the
Yeah.
study.
So I think maybe that's like reference, just not.
Blatant.
Gotcha. Do you want it to be?
That's a great question. We certainly use the information, we reference the information. We didn't directly quote the study. If the board would like us to quote the study, we can certainly put that in an appropriate location. But it's certainly used and definitely referenced in parts within the report itself.
I do.
I would reference it.
Yeah, and I think we would insert in the neighborhood preservation section of the plan.
Well, it was a turning moment for us, you know.
Yep.
Plus, it's what we kind of base a lot of decisions on, and I don't see that changing until that balance gets, which the report talks about, till that balance gets to it.
Yeah.
We'll include that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing, is this an ordinance or a new roll call? No, this is a resolution,
Do we
right?
have a motion support to approve?
So moved.
Oh, thank you. No.
Motion by Eldridge, supported by Doe. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Back to me?
May I say just one comment? I'm sorry, I know this is, I want to thank the township for this plan. This is an excellent plan that you guys drafted. I've never seen a township be as involved and engaged in a process as you were, and so you should be really proud of this plan. It's, you do these, you look at it every 5 years, but you only do a comprehensive rewrite every, once, hopefully every 20 years. And so this is really a celebration for the township adopting this plan. And fortunately for Jason and I, there's a lot, this is just the work has just begun. But I think this is a plan that this township should be really proud of. And I really would compliment you, the steering committee, and the planning commission on how much work went into this plan. So I want to thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And just to Ben's point, and then I'll leave you folks to your work. I've actually been talking to Ben and Megan about putting an application into the Michigan Association of Planning for this to be nominated for a Daniel Burnham Master Plan Award to go up against other communities in the state to see how well our master plan stacks up. So I'll keep it posted about that.
We'd actually like, there's 2 awards. We'd actually like for the Burnham Award and also for the Public Engagement Award too. So we really think it could qualify for both awards.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So as that process gets moving, we'll let you folks know.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Next, we have a request to approve the revised site plan, revised and restated development agreement, and Fourth Amendment to the master deed and bylaws for the Crystal Pond condominiums. A motion would be in order.
Move to approve.
Motion by Wilson, supported by Doe. Mr. Radzik.
Thank you. Good evening. Earlier during the work session, I gave you a thumbnail summary of the history of this project and what is before you this evening. So I won't repeat all of that other than to say in front of you tonight are 3 separate things: the revised site plan for the Crystal Ponds condominium, the revised and restated development agreement, and the Fourth Amendment to the master deed and bylaws. Tonight with us is Greg Windingland from Lombardo Homes, who will be giving a presentation and have an opportunity to answer any questions. And also here tonight is Mr. Charles Rutkowski. He's sitting here in the blue jacket. He's the president of the Crystal Ponds Homeowners Association, and our staff, dating back many, many years, have had countless conversations about how this project could be completed to the HOA satisfaction for the 20 residents who live there, and I think we finally achieved that. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Mr. Windingland.
Wow, that was an introduction. Good evening, Greg Windingland with Lombardo Homes. Very happy to be here tonight. With me tonight is David Hensel, a project manager for Lombardo Homes. If you've gone through Crystal Ponds in the last 6 months, David is responsible for most of the work that happened out there as far as brush hogging and clearing around the pond and other activities going on. So he's here with me tonight, and I will just take to correct Mr. Radzik that the smiling Chuck back there is not the HOA president anymore. He's been waiting for a long time to give up that duty, and he's been able to do that. David Hensel has become the HOA president so that we can be more involved in helping guide the affairs of the association. We've hired a professional management company, something they've not been able to have in a long time. So we're very excited about that. The only other thing I would say before I start is to Doug's comments earlier. Yes, I am very pleasantly surprised when I get an email or a correspondence on a Saturday or a Sunday from, whether it's from Mike or Doug or even Brenda. I've had late night emails from you on things, and it's commendable. So with that, I do have a very short presentation. With your permission, I would ask David to be allowed to pass out a copy of the presentation in case anybody wants to look through it or take any notes or anything. Would that be okay? Also, as he's passing that out, I'm sure everybody has read cover to cover the submittal that we provided. So that is actually Anthony's son, Cosmo, is also one of our project managers in land development, and this is Cosmo's doing. We have been grooming Cosmo for bigger things in the company, and we have a bright future in front of us with him. So that presentation was mostly Cosmo's. So again, if we could go ahead. So as far as an agenda, if you'll give me about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll just go through a few items here. The introductions, I think we've taken care of. Quick history, I won't dwell on it other than to highlight a couple of things because I think it's very significant that we've been able to address them to everybody's comfort level. Why Lombardo was able to do this when I think some other people have tried previously and was not successful. Talk about some of the details of specifically what is going to be happening out there. And then if there are any questions or concerns, we'd certainly be glad to try to answer those. So just a very quick recap of the history. Developed some 20 years ago. The original developer, I put it in quotes, had some problems. And I think that puts it mildly, but I think that probably set a lot of the downward spiral in motion that the existing Crystal Pond residents were stuck with. The site has sat dormant through many, many years, including throughout the recession. 20 homes were built and privately sold. There's also 2 vacant units or vacant lots that are privately owned out there. So out of the 90 existing, there's 22 that are privately owned. The association and the co-owners have struggled for many, many years, and I want to stress they have done an outstanding job with the means they've had in front of them. And again, not to embarrass them, but Chuck has been phenomenal in helping keep that group together, not just Chuck, but the other board members that worked with him. I've mainly come to know Chuck, but everybody has worked there has done a really good job. And then 2 or 3 other builders had, I think, tried to make a go of the project, and kudos to the township for holding the line and saying, you guys aren't going to come in here and just build a couple of houses and see what happens. You guys did a really good job of ensuring that the existing co-owners were protected as well as the rest of the township in general. So I think you guys did a really good job on that. So why Lombardo? We think we're the right size organization for a successful framework here. We're not a large national builder, which this certainly wouldn't fit into their pro forma. We're not a smaller builder that wouldn't have, I guess I'll say, the horsepower to be able to do something like this. So we think we're just the right size for this. We've got a lot of experience going through the recession. We purchased a lot of distressed properties during the recession and have learned tremendously on how to successfully get those communities completed in that. So we think we have a very good standing with that. And then our core values that, you and I were talking about Anthony earlier, they all come from Anthony. We have integrity, passion, family, and commitment as our core values. And before we even made a formal submittal to you folks, we met with the residents, and we met here at the township, but we met with them and talked to them and said, here's what we're thinking. And if they would have objected and said, nope, go away, we wouldn't have been here. So prior to even making a submittal, we did have some preliminary discussions at the staff level to do some of our due diligence. But before we even made a formal submittal, we went to the residents and talked to them, because that's kind of how we operate. Next one, please. The other thing is we have a long-term partnership in the community, right? We came in here in 2009 with Creekside Village East and Creekside Village South. 2009 was our first encounter with the township, and then we bought some lots in Tremont Park. We built through Tremont Park, and then we separated Creekside Village South and Manners, and now Manners is almost sold out. If you look at the sales maps up there, the one kind of in the center of the screen is Manners. The red dots represent homes that are sold and now privately owned. The blue dots represent homes that are under purchase agreement and at some stage of construction. It could be that we're waiting for the permit, or it could be that they're cleaned and waiting for a closing. As you can see, there's very few of the kind of the light pink color, which are the ones that are available. That's been a very good success there. The upper right area is part of the Majestic Lakes communities, and we started there by just purchasing single lots from S.R. Jacobson, and then we purchased the balance of the land. That also has been very successful for us. And then most recently, Crystal Pond, most recently Majestic Ponds, and we do have 4 sales there, and we have 4 reservations as well. So that one is going well as well. So we think with our relationship with the township, we are also well suited to come in and make this a win for everybody. Go ahead. So the site plans, the original one, the one on the left, is the one that was initially proposed, and that was what we showed to the residents early on. It had some concerns. We had some concerns with it. The interior pathways behind people's units, people don't like that. They see it as an intrusion. There was talk about a gazebo, and if you remember, the one at Creekside Village South got dragged down the road a couple of times. This one would have been very remotely located. So that has been eliminated, and we've got a couple of park benches that'll go out there and things like that. The pathway at one point was talked about being a wood chip pathway. Those do not hold up, so we're sticking with an asphalt pathway, so that'll be something that people can walk on without any maintenance concerns. The one on the right is the one that was approved by the Planning Commission. The biggest change is if you look to the far left of both of them, at the end of the cul-de-sac, you'll see there were originally 6 houses proposed as coming down that cul-de-sac. When we met with YCUA, we learned that there was not sanitary sewer service available for those, and that would have required going to the state and getting a permit to extend the sanitary sewer, which would have basically been a deal breaker to have to do that. So we relocated those units. 2 of them stayed there. The rest of them we relocated internal to the rest of the community. So the overall plan still is very, very similar to what was originally approved and what was initially shown to the residents. The site plan itself, that's a aerial overlay of the site plan itself. The 11 homes that are on Sweetwater Drive are the homes that are under construction now. If you've driven down there, as of today, all 11 foundations are in and backfilled. So we'll be going vertical with at least 4 of those in the very near future. We do have 1 sale, and that is on the cul-de-sac, the one that would be on the right side. That sold. We did include affordability language in the development agreement. This one sold for a little bit higher than what our target price was. Excuse me, this was probably the highest premium site in the community. So for the affordability perspective that we put on it, we think this is right in line with that. So we're very happy with that.
What was that number?
Believe it or not, I know it's going to be public information. Because it's only the first one in there, I'd rather not say it. It will be public information, though. So then the details in the spiral bound that we had provided, there was an executive summary, and there were several bullet points in there, just very briefly. Same general layout as I showed you. The architectural elements, one of the things that the co-owners were concerned is, are you guys going to maintain the kind of character of what we've got? And we did, other than updating for some materials that are no longer available and to comply with ADA requirements and current building code, we're keeping essentially the same look to the buildings out there. We've addressed all the health safety concerns of not only the township staff, but OHM and YCUA. So we think we've done a very good job with that. We're providing financial and other support to the association. I mentioned earlier that we have engaged a association management company. We've agreed to absorb that cost and not pass that on to the residents. I think we said 3 years. We need a professional management agent on staff for closing so they can do the closing information. And we just felt it was appropriate for us to cover that cost. We're addressing many of the original developers' obligations as far as completing the paving of the road. The asphalt pavement was never completed. There's a lot of repairs and so on. We've added street lighting and the traffic camera SADs. Lombardo will be paying for those, and then just the ongoing cost is what the association of the co-owners will pay, but Lombardo will be paying for the initial cost of that. I mentioned the affordability aspect of it before. We amended the governing documents, the 3 items before you tonight, the site plan, the development agreement, and the master deed. And then obviously it doesn't work if Lombardo can't make a business go of it. And without sounding greedy, that was honestly one of our concerns, was we had to be able to make this work, and we were able to do that. So we're very happy with that. And that is a joint effort with all the parties that were involved. As far as highlights of the development agreement itself, some of them are duplicated, but obviously the language was updated to bring it into the current standards. A lot of the items had been completed, so those were modified as such. We're installing a pathway, a 10-foot wide pathway along Bunton Road, running parallel to Bunton Road. The development agreement will continue the payment into the traffic mitigation fund. It'll continue installation of street trees within the community. It provides a path to get the public water and sanitary sewer completed and accepted. That was one of the big health safety issues that were out there. Allows us to get the private roads. There's some repairs that need to be done and so on, and get those capped. The street lighting, cameras, we talked about that.
May I ask
Please.
regarding the private roads?
Yes.
Is there a maintenance agreement for the private roads? Or how does that work?
In the
It's
master.
private, so that the county road commission doesn't maintain them.
That is correct. In the master deed, in their budget, there is a line item for the private road maintenance, just like there is for
Every other
electricity.
private road.
And so there's a line item, and there's a component of their budget that goes to private road maintenance. There's for winter maintenance, for snow removal, things like that. And then there's also for ongoing maintenance, whether it's crack sealing and eventually building up a reserve fund for significant repairs.
Thank you.
Certainly. Go ahead.
Does the sidewalk on Button, is that going all the way to Textile? We talked about that.
No, it's just the frontage of the Crystal Pond property. And then the Fourth Amendment to the master deed, the items that were included in the spiral bound that we provided to you, again, had to be revised to reflect the minor changes in the buildings and the configurations. Added language for the SAD for the street lighting and the security cameras. We added the township's leasing restrictions that you guys came up with several years ago. I'm surprised that no other communities yet have stolen them from you, or none that we've encountered. We think they're great. When we first looked at them, we kind of thought it was none of your business, in all honesty, but they're really good leasing restrictions, and we've not encountered any co-owners that have looked at them and said, I'm not going to buy here because of this. We think they're very good, so those are included in there. It clarifies some things as far as the ability to do decks and patios and fences and things like that. And then it prohibits any fertilizers containing phosphorus. It was voted on And one thing that was not in the packet, because it came up at the Planning Commission meeting, was the township has historically required that all open space areas be available to the general public in a community. In this area, because of the remote area of the lake and the concern for liability and potential vandalism in that, there were some residents or some co-owners at the Planning Commission that spoke and asked if it be exempted, that they not have to have it open to the public. The Planning Commission thought that was a good idea, so that was included when the residents actually voted on the Fourth Amendment. As far as the vote itself, to amend the master deed, they needed 66 2/3%. And overall, it was approved by 93%, but obviously that was weighted heavily by the owner of all the vacant lots. But of the existing co-owners that voted, it actually passed by 73%. There were 16 that voted yes, 1 voted no. I'd be very interested to talk to that person. I'd be very curious to know why they chose to vote no. And then there were 5 that did not cast votes. So, but even so, of just the existing co-owners, it passed by 73%, which is very significant. That was just a cover slide. We did a presentation somewhat similar to tonight's for the association the night they voted. Go ahead. Questions or concerns, but before we get to that, go to one more slide. I wanted to recognize, I know I've mentioned it before, Mike Radzik and Doug Winters have done a phenomenal job in helping us navigate through this. We had a lot of email discussion back and forth. We've had I don't know how many meetings and stuff like that, but they did a phenomenal job. I already mentioned Chuck, the former HOA president, was very instrumental in helping us with this, the Crystal Pond Board and the rest of the co-owners, and then, of course, Scott Westover at YCUA, and Elliot Smith, your client representative at OHM. I hit P, and we'll go back one. So with that, if we could answer any questions, we'd be glad to do so.
Are there any questions? Mr. Winter?
Yes, that's one follow-up comment. I remember back in, I believe it was maybe in June or July of last year, when I think Greg was at the point where he was really, he could go either way on this project, because it was very, very problematic. I remember talking to Brenda and Larry and Karen at the time, and Mike, that we felt this was probably going to be the best opportunity for the 20 current owners in Crystal Pond to actually have a fully built out subdivision. And I remember having the conversation with Mike and Greg in the upstairs conference room behind Brenda's office, because I think Greg was feeling some frustration in regards to just how to get this, off the dime. At the same time, there were certain things that we had to have. But I think from that conversation and knowing that the township really strongly believed then and believes now that the residents out there really deserve to have this truly built out in a way they can really enjoy it. It's been a really problem for all those years. We had different bankers that would acquire this property, foreclose it. Somebody wanted to build a house here, build a house there, and it just, it never seemed to be a right fit. And I think finally that when Lombardo Homes came along and said that they were seriously interested, I think we all agreed internally that we were going to try our best to make it happen. And as any negotiation goes, there's going to be peaks and valleys, and there were some that probably might have been viewed as being a potential deal breaker, but through it all, I think we did try to do the right thing by the township, by the residents, and also be fair to the builder, because at the end of the day, as Greg said, they have to actually have a plan that they can sell to their team, because it is a for-profit business, and there's nothing wrong with saying those words. It just means that we have to make it such that everybody is a win-win situation. During the work session, we went through that. And again, I think one of the biggest winners, besides the the homeowners in Crystal Pond and even the township board, is going to be the Lincoln Schools district. I think this is going to add a lot of families and a lot of new students to that district. And I think that's a good thing to have in this day and age. So I think it's an opportunity that was a long time in coming, and I think sometimes you don't know what's going to end, but I still go back to that conversation back in June and July when, even with Scott Westover, it didn't look too promising at the beginning that we were going to be able to work this out. But it happened, and Mike did a great job also in trying to keep things and keep the dialogue and keep the conversations going forward. So I think at the end of the day, I think these will probably sell out. I think they're going to be I think they're going to be a big win for Lombardo as well as the township.
Michael, did you want to say?
If I may, just one last comment. I saw a couple of eyebrows raised when Greg mentioned that there were 11 foundations that had already been constructed. Just so you're aware, late last fall, Lombardo expressed their desire to start some foundations. They've got some serious groundwater mitigation problems on this site, and they wanted the opportunity to start digging these foundations in advance of approval tonight. After discussions with Mr. Winters and evaluating the relationship, we said fine, and they actually posted $110,000 cash to pay for demolition should tonight have gone sideways. If you approve it tonight, that those escrow funds will be returned to them first thing tomorrow. And it has been a pleasure working with Greg and his team, and especially our building department has an excellent working relationship with Will, who is Lombardo's field construction manager. He's a favorite of our building department for their level of professionalism and cooperation.
Great. I do think that this is excellent for the residents that live there and for the community, and affordable, when we discussed it was $200,000. So, I mean, it's just odd to think that $200,000 is affordable, but that's where we're at right now. And we appreciate you working with us on that. The bee friendly and pollinator friendly, we appreciate that. And I just got to get you to the, put in the electrical outlet for the electrical cars and.
Oh, we agreed to that.
Oh, yes, that's awesome.
I left that out of my presentation.
I'm
We
sorry.
agreed to that.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Well, that's greatly appreciated.
The
So we
centralized
welcome.
mailbox. In the centralized mailbox.
Yes.
That is what the post office wants too. They're asking for us to cluster all the mailboxes now, yeah. Hopefully they'll get them there, but anyways, strike that. I'm sorry. So we have a motion support?
We have a motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
looking forward to it. Next, we have number 2 is request to approve agreement. Thank you. Request to approve agreement with GEI Consultants to provide professional service to complete the 5-year consultant safety inspections as required by FERC CFR 18, Part 12, Subpart D of the Commission's regulation amount not to exceed $43,900, budget line item 252-252-0080-100. Motion approved is in order.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge, supported by trustee Joe Rowe. Is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Number 3 is Resolution 2005 for the temporary road closure request for the Overrun 5K on June 26, 2020. A motion would be in order.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Doe, supported by trustee Eldridge. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We have number 4, another resolution for a run on the temporary road, Resolution 20, it actually should be 2020-06, temporary road closure request for Run Scream Run, 5K, 10K, and Kids Mile Run on October 10, 2020. A motion to approve is in order.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Eldridge, supported by trustee Wilson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 under new business is a resolution 2007 for the 2020 Michigan Recreation Passport Grant for Club Youth Park. A motion to approve would be.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge, supported by trustee Joe Rowe. Is there any comments or questions? There was a memo that we're going to add to the minutes that came from the Park Commission approving this, recommending this grant. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We have resolution number 2020-08 for the 2020 Michigan Land and Water Conservation Fund Development Grant for the Community Center Park. A motion to approve that is in order.
Support.
Motion by Doe, supported by trustee Eldridge. We also have another letter for the record from the Park Commission where their board approved and recommended filing of this grant. Any other comments? Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously to support that resolution. Number 7 is request to approve the agreement with Washtenaw County Road Commission for the installation of rectangular rapid flashing beacon, RRFP, in the amount of $25,604.87. Budget in line item 101-446-000-818-022, and to approve the traffic control device agreement for maintenance of the device.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge, supported by trustee Gerald Rowe. Any comments or questions? Yes.
In the thing here, should it just, I know it lists in the board packet what street it's for.
This is on textile, it's going.
Textile and
Yeah,
Cherrywood,
it's a
but I
device
just didn't
that
know
will
if it
make
should say
safe
that.
Going into
Cherrywood.
Cherrywood.
It's right,
Entrance to the park.
yeah, it's in,
Yeah.
it's,
No, I know, but like, should it say that?
it's a rectangular
Can we add that to the
rapid
motion?
flashing beacon. So it's a push button.
Yeah. Can we just add like the location to the
So
resolution?
the device at Cherrywood and textile.
Is that a friendly
Or
amendment?
the entrance to, how about entrance to Fort Heritage?
Great.
And I do, especially since we've done our walkability plan as well, this area, we tried in 2015 to paint crossings, and we put signs up, and no, it still is not helping those kids to get across, the street. So I know there's other areas on Lake Crest, and I know that's probably the only other, well, maybe up at Lakeview Park on Textile 2, where the kids are coming across from the mobile home to get over to the park. So it is getting much harder because we've grown. Yeah, so there'll be more coming back as well.
All right, there's a motion that's been changed to add at the end of it, at entrance to Fort Heritage Park on Textile Road. That was Stan.
Yeah, it's fine.
Agree with that? Okay.
Sure.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously with the change. Number 8 is a request to approve the professional service agreement with HWA Analytics for the project lead and grant administration services for project with Region 2 Planning Commission. Motion to approve, that's in order.
So moved.
Support.
The motion by Eldridge, supported by Wilson. Trustee Wilson. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Number 9 is a request to approve the purchase agreement with DTE for the yearly operation cost of $16,362 for 50 lights on US 12, budgeted in line item 101-956-000-926-000. The installation cost for these lights is being paid by the Washtenaw County Road Commission from the MDOT.
So moved.
So moved. Support.
Motion by Doe, supported by Eldridge. Any comments?
The only comments I'd like to make is that this is part of the $8 million grant that State Representative Ronnie Peterson was able to get for this area. And I'm real thankful that Stan Eldridge has helped do presentations out into the neighborhood and for the proposal. And with the feedback that we've received, they've now wanted to change the proposal that was originally agreed upon by the road commission to take. So we're still, and Stan has agreed again to look at it with Larry, because we're trying to figure out, this is a major change. It'll affect a lot of areas in the township. So we need to make sure that we don't have any unintended consequences from it. But this is, this was the most serious safety issues with the changes, because it was so hard to see at night on Wired Road when they brought the traffic and called right sizing the pathways there, the highway, and the lighting will make it safer and brighter, and it will be more of an entrance into our community with landscaping and whatnot. So I look forward to the next phase, when we have to do it by next year. So we're kind of on a time frame, but we can do it.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Number 10 is a request authorization to waive the financial policy and award the purchase of security cameras for the 14B District Court to Conti in the amount of $12,737.73 as budgeted in line item 266-301-00977-000.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion by trustee Wilson, supported by trustee Eldridge. Any comments?
Question. Mila Harris, Ypsilanti Township employee. It just says security cameras. Do you guys have an idea of how many security cameras you're looking for that supports this cost?
It's
In the packet.
packet, and it's,
Yeah, if you can.
well, I'm getting there. There was quite a few, let me see. Oh, gosh, I can't do this. It's so bad.
6.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's a map. Miss
6,
Christie.
it's 6 plus one outside one.
Oh, sorry, sweetie. Can you take this
Yeah,
map
Miss
to her, Ms. Kaiser? It shows you where they're going. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, a motion's been made to support the installation of the cameras in the 14B court, and purchase them from Conti. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay. Motion carried unanimously. All right, next we have the mowers. Request to waive the financial policy and award the low quote to Dubaville Equipment for the purchase of 2 zero-turn mowers in the amount of $23,800 to be budgeted in line item 101-774-000-977-000, contingent upon approval of the budget amendment. Motion to purchase the mowers is in order. Waive the policy.
So move.
Motion by Doe, supported by trustee Eldridge. Any comments? I know the budget amendment was only, they just needed another $8,000 because they had budgeted for them, but they came in just a little bit higher. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. The request number 12 is authorization to seek legal action if necessary to abate the public nuisance for property located at 1175 Nash and what was the other address?
3775 Gulfside.
3775 Gulfside, as we all agreed to add that to the agenda. To abate the public nuisance at 1175 Nash and 3775 Gulfside. Budget in line item 101-950-00801-023. A motion would be in order.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Support.
Wilson, supported by Joe Rowe. I know that this is always if necessary. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those who approve it, say yay.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimously passed. Number 13, we need to set a public hearing for the creation of a streetlight special assessment district for Village at Majestic Lakes and Majestic Lakes Estate on April 21st, 2020 at approximately 7 o'clock. Motion to set the
So move.
in order.
Support.
Made by Doe, supported by trustee Eldridge. Set the public hearing. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor say yay.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. Can't remember what I said. 14, request the resignation of Brenda Stumbo from the Yucca Board and to appoint Gloria Peterson with a term ending December 31st, 2020.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge, supported by trustee Wilson. Any comments or questions? Thank you for your service to our community. You've been a big change over there at Yucca. Good luck to you, Gloria. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried unanimously. I think I'm having like dyslexic moment up here. Number 15, request to seek sealed bids for the garbage, recycling, and yard waste services contingent upon approval of the bid specs by the township attorney.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge, supported by trustee Gerald Rowe. Any comments or questions?
Of
Something
course,
we have to do.
the bids will be brought back to the
Oh,
board.
yes, yeah, this is just seeking them. All those in favor say
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. I have budget number 3 to offer to you. A motion to approve, to increase the general fund by $40,490 to $9,491,949. Approve the line item changes as outlined, and that's for $8,000 for the mowers, and the other is budget, or revenues in and expenditures for the HWA analytics contract this evening.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by trustee Eldridge and supported by trustee Wilson. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. We have under authorizations and bids, a request to award the low bid for the purchase of a Skyjack 3266 scissor lift from United Rentals in the amount of $13,905 with $10,000 budgeted in line item 101-265-000-977-000 and $3,905 is budgeted in line item 252-252-000-977-000. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Wilson, supported by Doe. Any comments or questions on buying, on the lift?
Would any trustees like to be involved in this committee?
What committee? Which committee?
They have to have like committee members and board members. I didn't know.
Oh, back to the HWA?
For the grant, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Back to the promise grant, prosperity on the autumn.
Just if you're
autonomous
interested, they're looking for,
STEM.
I think.
Sure.
Okay, well, if you're interested, let us know because
Okay.
I heard Stan say yes. Anybody else?
I appreciate it, Steve.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on all the some bids. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Is there any other business to come before the board?
My name is Arloa Kaiser, 1421 Melvin Street, and during this meeting, there's been several sayings about, or references to the centralized postal boxes. Is this something that the post office is going to try and do for every neighborhood? Which I am opposed to because of the age of the population. We're all getting older. And it seems like everything is becoming that we have to do the work, and yet we pay people for services. So is this true? They're going to try and do that in all neighborhoods?
Yes, they've asked for that before, a couple of years ago, that all the new development to have centralized boxes. And then they also have a box drop off for Amazon and whatever deliveries as well.
Because that's the first that I've heard of it. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but it's interesting that anymore, instead of services from different people, the community has to do most of the work themselves and still end up paying for more.
It is an issue. I had to deliver, because the lady that lives at over here, Georgetown, whatever it's called, Textile and Merritt, because, theirs is way out when they built that. And she can't go out there, so, yeah, so I don't know how, and she said, she has nobody around here, so I don't know how she gets her mail. Well, she's injured right now. I was thinking, there's a lot of 90-year-old women that live over there, so they must have somebody goes and gets her mail or something, because that is a big issue, because it makes you have to be dependent. But anyways.
There's not service. You pay for the post office and they don't.
More workers.
They don't do a good job, and yet they're making us do stuff. Are they going to do any better if we have individual mailboxes?
Any other business before the board? Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Board updates. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Doe, supported by trustee Eldridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried unanimously. We adjourned at 8:20, Janice. Ms. Doe and trustee Eldridge. Aldridge.
Anybody have a majority?
I don't think so. But I think